Welcome to Master the Science of Miracles, where we will explore the ancient science of transforming your ideas into your physical reality. Join us on a thrilling adventure that pushes beyond the limits of conventional beliefs about what it truly means to be human, as we unravel the truth about how powerful you really are. In each episode, we will discover the elements of the reliable, repeatable, step-by-step process for making the miraculous and ordinary part of your life. This is your portal to the extraordinary. So let the adventure begin. And now, here's your host, Ron Matthews.
Welcome back. I'm really excited to be with you today because we're going to be talking about something that is near and dear to my heart. And that is how to actually start to interact with your subconscious self. Now, in the previous episodes, we've talked about the subconscious self sort of in the abstract, but we haven't really gotten a feel yet for what that means. And I say that the subconscious self does not communicate using your first language. It doesn't communicate in English or Spanish or Portuguese. It communicates using feelings, memories. Intuition is the purview of the subconscious. And so in most cases, when our subconscious is trying to communicate with us, we ignore it. We pass it off as being inconsequential, unimportant. I want to change that because your subconscious self is such an important component of your life, and especially a component in the context of Master the Science of Miracles. Also, in a previous episode, I think, I talked about the various brainwave states and how we transition through them from birth until adulthood. So from the age of birth to 4 years, a child is principally in the delta brainwave state, which is the state we go into at night. We go into a deep, dreamless sleep. So from 0 to 4 years, whenever the child closes its eyes, it's in delta immediately. From 4 years to 8 years, it's in theta. The child is in theta. You were, I was, everyone. When the child closes his eyes, it's in theta. And from the age of 8 until 14 or 15, the child's in alpha a good part of the time. Now, why this is important is because those brainwave states are actually what we call hypnagogic states. There are states that you will go into if you were being treated by a hypnotherapist. And in those states, the way that they are presented in hypnotherapy, you go from beta, the outer brainwave state, conscious brainwave state, to alpha and maybe to theta. And in that process, the outer conscious level is somewhat suppressed, and the subconscious is spoken to or dealt with. The way I did it in the previous episode, when we did that guided meditation, that centering exercise, that process, the way I presented it, is a way for you to learn how to not go from beta to alpha, but to expand your conscious awareness so it encompasses both beta and alpha. This is important because during childhood, or any time you're in a hypnagogic state, then anything you are presented with goes into your psyche very, very deeply, which is why childhood trauma is such a difficult thing to effectively deal with. That being the case, there will be times in the process of Master the Science of Miracles when you have created your multi-sensory thought form. If you recall from a previous episode, we talked about that. I had you go through the process of recalling a pleasant memory where you were happy. You may have been with people that you loved and that loved you. It was a memory that was very pleasant. And we talked about experiencing that memory as though you're living it again right now and claiming those feelings of joy, of happiness, of confidence as parts of yourself, every bit as much as your eyes, your nose, your fingers, your toes. When you resolve that you are going to use the processes I'm teaching you to transform or transmute that multisensory thought form into your actual physical reality, you may find you begin to feel as though you have anxiety or stress or uncertainty. When that happens, it's because what you are claiming, what you're saying, this is what my reality is going to be. You may trigger some subconscious beliefs and values that you don't even know you have. And so when you try to send your thought form to your high self in the process I will teach you, it seems as though it's impossible. You can't get the energy to flow no matter what happens. This happened to me back in the early days when I was first developing what is now Master the Science of Miracles. I had gone through the process I taught you, created my multisensory thought form. I was all jazzed and all happy about it. I went into a meditative state and began sending energy to that thought form, and the door slammed shut. I could not send energy for love nor money. And so I thought something's going on here. So I used a technique I'm going to show you today to interrogate my subconscious to find out why. What is stopping me from completing this process? So we're going to talk about a couple of different methods. One I'm going to show you in a moment later on is using a pendulum. Now I've got this fancy schmancy pendulum here. It's a black crystal of some kind. You don't need to have anything fancy. In fact, you can just use a nut you get from a hardware store at the end of a piece of string. Because what is important is not the material, it's the way you are going to use it to get to your subconscious to talk to you. So what does that mean? Well, let's start with something a little bit more simple. And that is a simple process called muscle testing. There are some chiropractors, some healthcare practitioners that use muscle testing. It's called kinesiology. What it relies on is the fact that your energy system, which is the purview of your subconscious, will react differently to something that is beneficial and something that is harmful or not beneficial. In the same way, it will react to something that your subconscious knows to be true and your subconscious knows to be false or untrue. So perhaps the most simple way of using energy testing, the muscle testing, is to take your fingers. I'm making two okay signs like this. I'm going to go like this. Okay, I'm going to link my fingers together like this. I'm going to say, my name is Ron. I'm going to pull, and my grip is really strong because my subconscious knows that, yes, indeed, my name is Ron. Now, if I say, my name is Nancy, and I pull, I'm not as strong. My name is Fred. I'm not as strong. You try it yourself. Test it on this thing. Now, the way you can use this in the context of what we're talking about is if you are using the process, the Master the Science of Miracles process, you've gotten to the part where you have this really wonderful multi-sensory thought form of your memory from the future. Remember, we talked about that one of the previous episodes. This memory from the future, this multi-sensory thought form that you've crafted, and now you're going to love it into existence. You're going to step into it in your movie screen, the theater of your mind I taught you about. If you do that, and you begin to feel as though this isn't right, or you feel cognitive dissonance, anxiety, stress, tension of any kind, that's a sure giveaway that something in your subconscious has been triggered. Some subconscious value, belief, or what Caroline Myss calls a contract you did not even know you entered into, probably as a child. So what you can do is you can begin playing 20 questions. First of all, you can say, I am not able to send energy to my thought form. And if you get a strong test on that, the next thing is you can say, this process is being stopped because of fear of some kind, or unworthiness, or jealousy, or whatever non-beneficial emotion you suspect might be at play. And when you get one that is strong, this process of sending energy to my high self is stopped because of fear. And if I test that and it's strong, I know it's fear. If I say this process has been stopped because of jealousy, and I get a weak test, I know that's not it. So that's one way that you can identify what's stopping the process from being completed. The other way is something I borrowed from the science of dowsing. Now, dowsing is when your subconscious is employed to gather information about something that is outside of you. The most commonly known use of dowsing is using a water witch, that forked stick, where people will find where there's a well or where there's water. It's also used to find lost objects. And this capacity is possible because, as I pointed out in one of the early episodes, the relationship between your subconscious self and your physical body is analogous to the relationship between a pencil and a pencil box. In the old days, when I went to school, we had a pencil box. We kept our pencils, our erasers, our pens in the box. When we needed them, we took them out. We wrote in cursive, by the way, thank you very much. And when we're done, we put them back. Your subconscious is similar to that. And it can go out from your physical body. It can extend itself. It can actually travel, which happens quite commonly when you're asleep during dreams. That's a time when your subconscious goes out, gathers information to help you process information you experience during the day. So the tool I use from dowsing is a simple pendulum. And this is it right here. And as I said before, you can use a nut on a string. So the way we're going to use it is we're going to train our subconscious. We have a chart here on the table, and we're going to use this chart as a way for two things. One is to train our subconscious on how to use the pendulum to give us information, and then to actually use the pendulum. First train it, then use it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold my hand like this. So the pendulum is over the dead center on this chart. And by the way, when the pendulum swings in this direction, like this, it's going to be a yes, back and forth. When it swings in this direction, it's going to be a no. And even though there are other things on this chart, for our purposes in this context, we don't need them. We're just going to, for now, we're going to use just yes and no. Now, recall that I said in the previous episode that you can talk to your subconscious as though it's a sentient being, because from the perspective of the ancient tribal shamanic cultures, it is a separate being, which is part of you. So I'm going to say to my subconscious, to myself, when I use my voluntary muscles, to swing the pendulum this way, that means yes. And you may repeat that 2 or 3 times. When the pendulum swings this way, using my voluntary muscles, that means yes. Do that 3 or 4 times. And then, similarly, you go like this, you cause the pendulum to swing side to side, and you say, when I use my voluntary muscles to swing the pendulum this way, that means no. And do that three or four times, 5 times, just to teach your subconscious. Once you have done that, and it may take 2 or 3 sessions, please be patient with yourself because it happens at different times for different people. Some people have a very good aptitude for this kind of thing, and for others it may take a little bit longer. Please be patient. Everyone can do this. This is a capacity we were born with. Now comes the fun part. I'm going to say to my subconscious, use my involuntary muscles and show me a yes. And it will feel as though the pendulum is swinging all by itself, which is cool, but it's not. What's happening is your subconscious is using your involuntary muscles to answer your question. So I can say, my name is Ron. And the pendulum begins to swing in a yes back and this way. When that happens, when you get a correct answer, I want you to pat yourself on the back, pump your fist in the air, tell yourself, oh my gosh, you are so good at this. You did a fantastic job because your subconscious has the mental capacity of a younger sibling, 9, 10, 11 years old. It loves to be praised. And then the same way, I'm going to say, my name is Herman. And since my subconscious knows my name is not Herman, it gives me a no swing. And again, it's going to feel to you as though the pendulum is swinging all by itself. It seems very cool. And you'd like to say, wow, look at this. My psychic senses made the pendulum swing. That isn't the case. It's your subconscious using your involuntary muscles. And again, when you are successful, then praise yourself. And now you can begin asking questions, other questions that you know the answer to see what your subconscious will give you. So I'm going to say, the sun rises in the east every morning, and right away, I'm getting a yes swing. So I say, oh, fantastic. You did such a good job. Really good job. Good for you. And then I may say, the moon rises in the west. And when the pendulum swings with a no, that's the correct answer. And again, praise yourself. And after you've done a session, here's a little hint. After you've done one of these sessions, when your subconscious has caused the pendulum to swing correctly, when you get done, go and have your favorite snack or do something that is your favorite pastime. Because the reason it's your favorite snack is because your subconscious loves it. Your subconscious is the thing that controls your emotions and the likes and dislikes. That's your subconscious world. So go and play a video game or have a cookie or whatever it is. But do something to reward your subconscious self when it does this. Now, let's suppose you have this marvelous multi-sensory thought form that you've constructed. And you step into it and suddenly you feel as though this is not right. Or something just isn't right. I'm not into this. Something feels wrong about this. The chances are really excellent that you have triggered some belief or value that you were taught or that you had impressed on you when you were a child without you even knowing it. And it became part of your belief system. And because it's subconscious, it's going on beneath your conscious awareness. So I go through the process and something is not right. So I stop and I say, all right, I am not able to send energy to this thought form. And I get a yes. Okay, that's good. That's good. Now, I am unable to send energy to my high self because of fear. And if I get a yes, then you don't need to go any further. You know it's fear. Or you may say, the energy is being shut down because I'm not worthy of having this thing I desire. And if your subconscious, or if your pendulum gives you a yes, then you know it's unworthiness. So now you have identified what is preventing you from sending the multisensory thought form of your desired outcome to your transcendent self on the stream of this energy, which I know you're developing because I taught you that in episode 2. And I'm sure you're doing your breathing exercise and focusing on that point below your navel every day, aren't you? Go like this with your head. Yes, you are. Because this is how the process is carried out. So you might be saying, hey, Ron, that's great. Now what? Well, I'm glad you asked that question, because I'm going to show you how to clear that subconscious block, that emotional block, in the next episode when I teach you the personal demon demolisher. I hope you had as much fun watching this little demonstration as I had giving it to you. And I will see you in the next episode. Until that time, make miracles an ordinary part of your life. Bye for now.